You are listening to the Banker's Secret Podcast, the Canadian guide to create a significant and positive impact on the financial success and everyday quality of life for businesses, individuals, and families. Building sustainable and dependable wealth, your host Glen Zacher has been serving Canadians since 2004.
Welcome back to Talk to the Experts. My name is Daryl Hook. Happy to have you with us today. Also happy to welcome our guest, founder and CEO of Maguire Financial, Glen Zacher. Now, if you've been a long-time listener of Talk to the Experts, you know Glen and his team have been educating business owners, professionals, and families across Canada for the past 20 years. In 2008, Maguire Financial brought the strategy of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, to Canada. And they've been educating Canadians on how to implement the banker secret process so you can be the banker in your life on a you and me level. Maguire Financial is the leading authority and implementers on this concept. And if you stay tuned with us for the next little while, we're going to be hearing all about how you can use the banker secret to create your own private reserve of capital. And now I'd like to welcome back Glen. Hey, Glen, are you there?
Perfect. Good morning, Daryl. It's so nice to be invited back to speak with your listeners again.
Always nice to have you. I understand, Glen, it's been, considering all what's been happening, a pretty productive year for you and the Maguire team, given all the events going on, and you're in full swing with your online live training now, educating people on the banker secret. And you actually have two coming up, and a lot of people are finding themselves either on a reduced work schedule, unemployed, or even if they're working, they're seeing their life savings in some cases evaporating as the stock markets continue this roller coaster ride up and down. What are you saying to your people? What should people be doing right now?
Yeah, good question, Daryl. So with all of the unknowns going on in the stock market today, it would be smart for people to research alternative ways to protect their money today and grow it, for their future. And, there's no doubt the recent economics of the world today could easily bring on discouragement. So helping people avoid the losses, is of more value than trying to pick the winners. If what you thought to be true, turned out not to be true, when would you like to know? And of course, most people would say, well, as soon as possible. So
yesterday,
helping people learn, So helping people learn the truth leads them to the right results. So our live online training has been designed to teach people things that they've never, discovered about money before. When this process of implementing the banker secret, it's like creating your own financial bunker. So becoming your own banker, that Nelson Nash taught me, is really one of the least known financial strategies out there. However, it could be one of the most powerful, and people might say, well, why is that? Because of the, the tax-free use of money, guaranteed growth, and access to liquid cash. And couldn't be more importantly, been apparent here today or, throughout this whole year. So we'll show you how to build sustainable wealth. If you're like a lot of people, you're concerned about your financial future, this strategy, Daryl, will show people how to secure their savings, and, they won't want to miss these events here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, to describe what the infinite banking concept is, and you've kind of done that. So, for years you've talked about how the banker secret can protect your savings from volatile markets, and that's something I think a lot of people are really concerned about. Creating your own private financial reserve gives you peace of mind, safety, security, and you can go without being worried about what's happening with the stock markets. Your money may not be at risk of loss. So what are a couple of the key things that make this process so different?
Yeah, so becoming your own banker is through the use of permanent life insurance, which is built on a foundation of guarantees where your money can really never be lost to any stock market or really any financial market. So when people are considering where to put their money, the most important criteria is really the return of your capital, not the rate of return on it. We've kind of been taught that way all through our lifetime. And dividend-paying insurance is a powerful savings technique that yields positive results through every stock market crash, real estate bubble, and recession known throughout history, actually. And the best part is, Daryl, is that this financial asset, it can be integrated with nearly every business imaginable. And so people are quickly discovering how this financial vehicle, really provides velocity of money, being able to grow that uninterrupted, compound interest, and how you can secure your financial future, and how to leverage your money just like the bank does, to purchase vehicles, eliminate consumer debt, pay off mortgages and things like that. So in today's uncertain, economic world, with the unpredictable stock market, the question is, how does the infinite banking concept hold up, really under various economic scenarios? And first is, probably what comes to people's mind there would be is, how safe is my money with the infinite banking concept? And, just to let our listeners know that the companies that we recommend really are among the financially strongest life insurance companies in Canada. These companies have been paying dividends for well over 172 years, and they've never, ever failed to pay a dividend. And so the infinite banking concept, it gives a person an advantage over traditional investments. And so I'm not suggesting at all that investing is good or bad. We've just been blessed, to discover another financial vehicle, where we can place our money where it can't be lost, to typical markets. So this is really what we're, discussing here with people. So the live training is specifically designed to educate people on this powerful strategy, to accomplish all these financial objectives.
And the one thing we've always talked to people about with this concept is it's the furthest thing possible from a get-rich-quick scheme. It's totally not that. It's you're educating people on how money works, basically, and what the banks do with it. That's why the whole banker's secret comes in, and that's really the key to these seminars, is that you're giving people perspective and education. So give our listeners a very quick sneak preview as to what they can expect.
Yeah, super. That's a good segue into that, Daryl. So the online training is really designed to educate you on how this powerful tax-free strategy can enhance a person's retirement planning without market risk and the uncertainty of future tax rates. So dividend-paying permanent insurance is really a solid and built on a foundation of guarantees, and has these kind of four pillars here, I would say. So first, built on guaranteed returns and growth year over year, irrespective of market conditions. Liquidity of cash, so having access to that. Thirdly, protection from market losses or protection from third-party claims, creditors, even bankruptcy, Daryl. And lastly, being able to, have money in a place where it's tax-free now and in retirement, which, for a lot of folks, is going to increase their cash flow and, eliminate stress and pressure that they have, when we're experiencing, ups and downs with our money.
Yeah, and who wouldn't want that? Can you quickly tell us, how does the best financial product really work?
Well, for a lot of people, they've discovered, many financial things out in the marketplace. So, we've talked about what the concept is. If we drill down a little bit on how does it really work, this is where, people are going to need to have a coach. So that may sound like a simple, answer at first, but, first we've got to capitalize. So we've obviously got to put money in, into a system. The more money you put in, the greater it grows. Second, as we have our savings inside of a permanent insurance like this, you got to collateralize. When you access policy loans, this money is actually not coming out of your policy, but really from the life insurance company's pool of capital. So your policy is just, being used as collateral. Third, you must understand how to compound your money uninterrupted. And this is where it really gets interesting. I mean, we've all been taught, go to work, make money, put it in, a traditional bank, fill that tank, drain it, fill it, drain it. You can't, difficult to get financially ahead using that method. And so when you use a policy as collateral to access a policy loan, your money never leaves your policy. So all during the time of the policy loan and repayment, it compounds uninterrupted. I'm yet to meet anybody that has discovered another vehicle that can do that. So one of the secrets that we're going to share with people is you got to capitalize, collateralize, and you got to pay it back so it compounds uninterrupted, Daryl. So, I like to say it's not magic. It's dividend-paying permanent insurance. It's been around in Canada for 172 years, and for years we've been talking about it on Chet here, and it's this. It's the language applied to this. That's really what's new. So I would like to say that, it's one of the best places, for people to park their money. Where else can you grow your money that's tax deferred with guaranteed growth that you can access at any time with no questions asked? And if it's structured properly, it's tax advantage, and we can repeat that process again and again and again.
Our guest today is John Moakler from Moakler Wealth Management. John is a survivor of osteosarcoma cancer, and John decided to work in his financial planning practice exclusively with the people who saved his life, doctors and dentists, nationally recognized and award-winning. He's the best-selling author of Heal Thy Wealth, How Doctors Are Misdiagnosing Their Own Financial Health and What They Can Do About It. We're going to bring John on now. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Nice of you to join us today. John, I know you and Glenn have been working together for a few years now, working with business owners and professionals like, as we mentioned, doctors and dentists, and stressing the importance of working with a certified financial planner and having a written financial plan. Can you share with our listeners why this is so important?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. Listen, I always relate it to my own experience. When I want to seek out a specialist, like a doctor for surgery or a dentist to have a root canal performed, I want to make sure they have lots of letters after their name. And the same thing needs to happen when people are interviewing their financial planner. So you need to have a specialist. Not only should your financial planner at least have their CFP or Certified Financial Planner's designation, but they need to belong to an accredited financial planning association like Abacus, which is the Financial Planning Association in Canada, and they need to take what are called continuing education or CE credits every year in order to keep up with the changes in the industry. And too often people are putting themselves out as a financial planner and they do not have their designations, and that's going to change as governments across Canada are now starting to regulate the financial planning industry.
Oh, that's interesting news. And that'll really give people, I think, some confidence that they've chosen the right person if they have those designations.
Correct.
Now, I understand both you and Glenn are best-selling authors, and you've written a book specifically for doctors. Can you tell us a bit about the book?
Yes, the book has been out. It's a bestseller, Heal Thy Wealth. And every time I say the title to doctors, they kind of nod their heads because it is how doctors are misdiagnosing their own financial health and what they can do about it, because they're very busy in their practice, and so are dentists and so are professionals. But it came out in early 2016, and it has many case studies in each of the chapters. And in fact, chapter number 1 tackles that topic of making sure your financial planner has the correct designations and they're actually working in your best interest and that they do not have any conflicts of interest. Now, the book is perfectly suited really for any business owner. It teaches you how to create a tax-free retirement paycheck, how to ensure that the government is not the biggest beneficiary of your estate, and we educate them on how to put what I call bumper guards around you and your family in case life throws you a curveball.
Now, Glenn, I'm going to come to you in just a moment. I want to ask about, how your program, how your live seminars are going to be of value to business owners and professionals. But I want to ask John first, how should people be preparing or planning for retirement?
Well, it's quite interesting. When most people retire in Canada, I say they have what is called a two-legged chair. They have their liquid investments like an RRSP or a TFSA or some non-registered investments, and they have their real estate, which is typically their home or a vacation property. However, as we experienced in 2001, 2008, and again at the beginning of this year in 2020, because of COVID-19, most of these two-legged chairs fell over. The markets came crashing down, and people were still needing to create their monthly paycheck from investments that are now underwater. So they needed to have a third leg on their chair so that that chair did not fall over. And that third leg is participating dividend paying whole life. And the current dividend on guaranteed pay whole life in Canada is 6.2%. And insurance companies in Canada have been paying dividends on whole life for more than 150 years. And this allows you to build up the cash value inside the policy so that you can tap into it tax-free in order to create your personal retirement paycheck.
Yeah, it's a great analogy with the two-legged chair. I think a lot of people can identify with that. And continuing on with the subject of retirement, what should a retirement paycheck look like?
Well, the retirement paycheck should have at least three components. You have what is called your fully taxable portion, which could be your RRSPs or your RIFs if you're age 71, and your Canada Pension Plan. Those are all taxable income streams. Then you would have your tax-preferred portion of your paycheck, such as dividends or capital gains. And finally, you should have a tax-free portion of your paycheck, which would be your tax-free savings account and the cash value sitting inside a guaranteed paying dividend whole life, like I mentioned before. So if you're a business owner, you can have your corporation actually fund that guaranteed pay whole life. And in retirement, there's a strategy that Glenn and I both implement that allows you to tap into that cash value inside the policy on a personal basis, totally tax-free.
Do you find people who are not doctors and dentists are picking up your book, and is there something of value in there for them too?
Oh, it is, because it gets into estate planning, it gets into developing your wills. Everybody needs a will in Canada, otherwise you die in what's called intestate, and it means that the government will take over the running of your estate. So there's stuff in there about how to design your will. If you have children, minor children, there's good tips in there to make sure that whoever the guardians of your children are, make sure you have different people that are actually running your estate.
And the name of your book again?
It's called Heal Thy Wealth.
Heal Thy Wealth. Glenn, talking about business owners and professionals, what can they learn from attending the online live training you'll be offering?
Well, they're going to learn things that no one has ever taught them about, money before, how to maximize the efficiency of their cash inside of the corporate structure and minimize their taxes. And, taxes is a very important topic, and, very few people are really talking about them. So business owners know what it's like to be in control of their money, and the process that we teach business owners and professionals essentially will allow them to be 100%, in control of their money, enjoy all of the advantages that brings to their business, and their families. And they're also going to learn how to get guaranteed returns and grow their money year over year, irrespective of market conditions. Second, having the liquidity of their cash. I mean, so important for, professionals and business owners. I mean, it's, you can imagine it's a lot more difficult to go to a traditional bank and access capital. So having a structure like this and access, to liquid capital to expand business or whatever the case. And lastly, protecting the money from potential stock market losses, third-party claims, even bankruptcies. And, building a pool of capital that will be able to access a tax-free retirement paycheck like John just shared. So, I've known John and worked with John for several years, and, John's expertise is really with doctors, dentists, and business owners. So he actually specializes, in that arena, and it's, we've had an awesome business relationship for many years.
Look, I'm just going through a whole pile of papers here, Glenn. It was great talking to your friend John Moakler. Seems like a really interesting guy.
Yeah, we've worked together for several years now on, delivering, educational, seminars to doctors and business owners. So it's been an awesome guy.
Interesting to hear him speak. A lot of interesting information that's going to come out, of course, in the Banker's Secret live online training. And I'm wondering, what does the federal government think of these strategies?
Daryl, great question. So, the fact that the federal government actually limits how much money one can put in the life insurance policy says, really what about it? Well, it must be good, if they're concerned about, having limits, and if it's that good, more specifically, into, relationship to really one subject, and that's taxes. So basically the government decides the upper limit of the tax advantage growth that a person, would be allowed to put in the policy and still, have access to that cash value. So we like to call this, a maximum efficient system, and policies over and above, this allowable amount are really determined to be taxable, and so that simply means that the government will treat in an insurance contract like they do an RSP with all the rules, regulations, and related penalties. So, I always like to say to people, do you have an exit strategy to get your money out of your RSP without paying tax? And, if you don't have one, you're going to want to join us on October 8th and 14th and discover how this powerful strategy really works.
Now, last time we chatted a couple weeks ago, I think you were on the verge of releasing your new podcast, and it came out on September 26th. And your plans are to release a new episode every 2 weeks so people can learn more about the banker's secret and how to be the banker in their lives. It sounds really interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
That's right, Daryl. So we launched our podcast channel on September 26th, and the channel is called Maguire Wealth Management, where people can access the Banker's Secret episodes to really learn more about this amazing process. And over the years, you can imagine we've built a vault of information over the last decade, and we're going to be sharing that with everyone on our podcast. I think just recently, too, you and I were talking. We're also launching our YouTube channel here very soon as well, Daryl. So we've got many things that's very exciting here at the Maguire Home Office.
And that's really a great way for people to, at their own speed and their own leisure, kind of introduce themselves to the concept, start to understand what it's all about, and then help them make up their minds if they want to attend the Banker's Secret online live training, and then really get into it in some good detail.
Absolutely.
So I always enjoy the story you tell, and you've told it a number of times here, and I'm going to ask you to do it again for new listeners who may not have heard it. How you first discovered the concept of becoming your own banker. It was you and an associate. I think there were two Canucks in a room full of Americans, and you were really pioneers in Canada to get this started.
Yeah, that's right. My journey began in 2008. Where we traveled to Las Vegas, of all places, to attend a 2-day conference. About 300 people there. Brought one of my agents with me, and to my surprise, we were the only Canadians there, like you mentioned. And, I was so, I guess, in awe. I thought, if there ever was a financial game changer, this would be it. And I really wanted to know every detail and how, more importantly, could this work in Canada. So in 2009, we discovered a gentleman in St. Catharines, Ontario, named Bob Shields, who actually wrote the book, You Don't Have to Die to Win. I thought, what an interesting title. Took us in 2010 where we met another gentleman out of the U.S., Ray Poteet from Lawrence, Kansas. And, we attended several of Ray's training sessions there. And it was at that time through Ray's trainings that we actually learned about Nelson Nash, the pioneer and founder of becoming your own banker. So it wasn't until a few years later, since we discovered it back in 2008, that we actually met Nelson. And so our journey took us all over the U.S. learning this topic. And, Daryl, today we're the leading authority and implementers of becoming your own banker in Canada, and it's simply educating and coaching business owners, professionals, families, and we've even trained many of the insurance agents in Canada have come through our office here over the better part of a decade, Daryl.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Nelson Nash was at the initial event you attended in Las Vegas. He was a great character. Loved you guys. Always spoke very well of Maguire Financial, and was so impressed with the way you had implemented things here and had begun training people. So I'd like to ask, I'm sure people are always asking you this, why should I purchase a whole life insurance policy and borrow at a higher rate with a policy loan when I can get money at my bank for a cheaper rate?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mindset there of, we always think, well, I can go to the, where I bank at and get cheaper rates. And of course, in today's environment, rates are very, very low. The concept itself, it's really not about interest rates or rate of return. More importantly, it's about implementing a process in a vehicle where, we've discussed quite a bit of how we can be the banker, in our life on the you and me level. And for most people in their lives, they've been depositors and borrowers to someone else's bank. And this process, when implemented correctly, people are also going to become the bank owner and the banker. So when we're all of those four characters, this is where we would say a person has or is in a position of 100% control of their money. And so there's many advantages, to using a life policy of this nature. Really, when you can access capital through policy loans, you don't need any credit check, credit score. And because the policy owner, Daryl, controls the policy loan debt, the person determines, the terms of the repayment. So we would say this is an unstructured, repayment process versus the one that, we're all familiar with, a structured repayment process where, the bank dictates, what the amount's going to be, how long they're going to have that amortized over, and things like that. And of course, at the bank, there's an approval process there. Here with the policy, none of that exists. And so this is, what we mean by giving the policy owner total and absolute control of the money. So this is why this is so very important.
So you've listed a number of advantages, and using these advantages as a foundation, what are some additional reasons why dividend-paying permanent insurance makes sense in the kind of low interest rate environment that we have now?
Yeah, good question. So Nelson Nash, in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, suggests that it's more important or more efficient to build cash value in a policy for a period of time, before an individual actually begins to borrow against the cash value. And I mentioned this earlier. This is known as capitalization phase. So since market interest rates are so low, the client or the policy owner has the opportunity to access capital at low interest rates, allowing the policy to build even more cash value, if it's structured properly. And I just can't stress that enough. The policy of this nature is really more of a financial instrument than it is a life insurance policy. And what do I mean by that is that when we put these structures together correctly, Daryl, we're not solving for death benefit. So it's very important for people to understand that the capital that's going in there, we're actually saying what's the least amount of death benefit can a person get, and how do we maximize that cash that's going into that. And in such a low interest rate environment, the performance really of a maximum funded permanent policy of this nature really can compare quite favorably to other things that maybe like GICs, maybe annuities, or several other bank savings plans that they offer consumers. And then of course, if we add in the presence of of a tax-free death benefit, to the attractive cash value accumulation that's possible, really dividend-paying, permanent insurance is an awesome alternative. And having access to capital, that's probably more important than anything, especially in today's environment.
One of the things we always talk about is that learning the banker's secret it's a lot easier when you're in the seminar. We talk about it here, and sometimes you want to get into more detail, but we can't get into all the detail we want to get into on the air. And we've stressed again that it's not a get-rich-quick experience. It's education to teach you new ways to work with your own money and to have more control over your own money. And you have hundreds and thousands probably of success stories from people who've come in, learned, and gone out and are really happy with what's going on. But because it isn't a get-rich-quick thing, it takes some work. So tell me, what are some, before I tell people all the information about the upcoming live sessions, tell me, what are some of the challenges and obstacles that people are going to have to deal with when they're trying to implement this strategy?
Oh, that's such an awesome question. So the problem that people are going to have with this is that they're going to find it very difficult to implement this process yourself. You're going to find it's going to take a huge commitment to implement this on your own. So this process is all about financing the things, a person or a business owner is going to need in their life. So it's not about death benefit, like I mentioned before. So knowledge doesn't necessarily mean understanding. And, in life, we're conditioned to think one way on how banks, money, and insurance works. So we have to go through life, Daryl, to learn a process. We've got to learn new things. And you have to really unlearn the traditional things that most people have been taught about banks, money, and insurance. Now, I like to say everyone is in the banking business. It's just that, most people are just not good at it, at least for now. And for whatever reason, you've been taught one way to do banking. our live trainings are going to teach people really another way to do banking. And, I like to say you got to get out of an environment or a posture, where your money is not working for you and get it working for you in a different direction.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just grow up thinking that there's one way of doing things, and because everybody else is doing it that way, so they kind of fall into that trap. And when we get back from our break, the first question I'm going to ask you, since we're talking about banks and we're talking about life insurance companies, is what's the difference between a bank versus a life insurance company? Glenn, we were talking about the differences between a bank and a life insurance company. Can you chat about that for a little bit for our listeners?
Absolutely. So really, I guess we would say the name, both of these entities, people have to put money, with them and get it working, that they take in. So we would say money does not sit stagnant. Have you ever experienced, financial pressure, and I like to say to people, what if all we did was help you relieve financial stress? How would that, make you feel? So, like insurance companies, like banks, again, they take in money. I guess one of the real big differences, Daryl, is that banks can fractionalize money where life insurance can't, meaning that if a life company takes in $1, they can only, loan out $1 or send that out. So people are going to learn this on, discover an amazing concept here on October 8th and 14th, where people can create their own private reserve of capital and learn on the you and me level how to be the banker in their life.
Now, most people, you talked earlier, and when we had our guest on, about doctors and professionals, they know their profession, they're busy, and like a lot of us, even if someone's very, very smart in their field, they don't always understand money, and they get frustrated trying to manage money on their own, and they end up losing a good chunk of their life savings while trying to do so. And I think I'll ask you, is investing and taking on risk the only way a person can get ahead or try to get ahead?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Daryl. Like finances for most people can be confusing. I like to say we have a 3-step process where our clients can be confident in all of their financial decisions. And really, because everyone deserves to understand finances. There are only 2 ways to improve a person's financial position. One is to find better financial products than those maybe that they have now. Potentially, they pay higher rates of return. However, often requires, a lot more risk that they got to take on. And second is, from my perspective, is really to say, can we be more efficient by avoiding unnecessary losses? And what people don't realize is that whatever they do for a living, everyone is in the banking business. And like I mentioned before, they're just not good at it for whatever reason. Doesn't really matter. We've all been taught, I was too, back in the day, one way to do banking, and I learned a different way, to, be my own banker in the life. And, this is what's so awesome about, this whole process and concept there is that we're going to teach people another way to do banking on our online live training. So, people have to get out of an environment, where their money is not working for themselves. And you got to be able to, think of it in a different, context, and I find too, people are, presently, for a lot of folks, the way they're structured, they're paying way too much money in taxes, and so we actually have a process where we can go through and, figure out everything for people, that they're not doing so well, likely they're probably doing some things well, and we can probably save them a ton of dough. What
would you say to listeners out there right now who are listening, who are sitting on the fence about attending the Banker's Secret webinars?
If anyone that's listening today, if you're worried about outliving your money, half of the retirees are going to likely run out of money, and here's 3 major concerns, that people have with the retirement planning is, they're going to outlive, their retirement savings. Second, big concern is that most people believe that tax rates are only going to go up over the long term. And third, one of the biggest concerns that people have is that, most people, when they turn 71, they're going to have money come out of a registered plan or a company pension plan and things like that. And, we find many seniors are finding themselves in the highest tax bracket, actually, when they start to withdraw on all of their sources. So, these are some very good things that people are going to discover on the online training, and it goes for 60 minutes, and people won't be disappointed.
And Glen, we've been touching on this throughout the show, but just very briefly, the 1 hour complimentary financial planning session, are you retirement ready or not? I mean, do you want to speak to that just for a few seconds and let people know what they're going to hear there?
Absolutely. So when we meet with people for a 60-minute period of time, it's really just to find out where we can be useful, add value to their current financial planning efforts. Really, it's just a nice conversation to kind of get to know folks, where they're at, and where potentially we can add value, in their process right now. And I haven't met anybody that's kind of met with us and left, with big question marks and things like that. They really enjoyed the time, and likely most people are going to discover something even they didn't even know about their own, financial structure, and how to maybe take it or attack it in a little bit of a different way.
And as we've always said, the more you know, the better armed you are to make decisions as you move forward. And ultimately, everyone's wealth is dependent on them and the kind of information that they seek and the amount that they learn just gives them the tools to make really good decisions.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about, again, just tell us, our listeners, how the best financial product really works.
Absolutely. So we've talked a lot about, what it is, aspects of it. So let's just, if we drill down again, really what are people going to learn? So first off, I would say that people need a coach. When we look at a system like this, a person's going to capitalize it, meaning that we're going to put money into a structure like that. The more money we put in, the greater it's going to grow. And we're going to use it for all sorts of things. Buy cars, send our kids, to college or university, pay down consumer credit, mortgages, those types of things. And so we would call our cash value or our savings inside of a policy of this nature, Daryl, as collateral. So we're going to use it as collateral to access policy loans. So we're borrowing against the cash value that we build up inside of a structure like this. So we're not accessing our own capital. Actually, the capital that we're accessing comes from the pool of capital from the life company. So people are going to learn these types of things, and they're going to understand how to compound their money uninterrupted. And it's been my experience, over the last 25 years, this is one of the reasons that people can't financially get ahead too well, is that they keep putting money into a tank to keep draining. It's just you keep depositing money into a savings, and of course we're accessing it. I like to use the term draining it, but we can't compound money, with that process.
And on cue, there's our music. The show's coming to an end. Glen, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Once again, to our listeners, if you'd like to attend the Banker Secret Live online training, just give them a call, 780-462-1289. They'll tell you what's involved. You're going to love it. You can also register online at McGuireFinancial.ca. Glen, have yourself a great day.